Next up, we have Mike Reiskin at Bank of America. Mike, your line is now open.
Hey, great. Thanks, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Mike.
Awesome. So I kind of want to go back to, I think, kind of the crux of your argument earlier, Jason. Just kind of looking at like slide 14, I think that captures it perfectly, is that, the disconnect between active programs or new programs and revenues, or like why that's disconnected over time. I'm just wondering, within that, we only see the total number, right? Total programs, total revenues. Any success stories you can talk about, any examples, any lessons you can give as you parse that out, where you see some of the proof points? Because you were talking a little bit about how, it's about not being able to get up to full scale, cases where you are able to achieve that. And what I'm getting at is, it's a long question, but what I'm getting at is, you're putting in these cost cuts, you're trimming things. How do we know that's not just going to, trim the number of programs, trim the number of revenues, and just, you're just cutting everything in half, right? By reducing headcount, reducing footprint, right? How do you know you're selecting the better approach versus just taking what you have now and cutting it in half?
Yep. Super clear, Mike. Yeah. So I'll give a little color on it. So first off, we have now multiple years of experience, with many programs, right? And again, you can see the ramp of our program. I know people that have followed us since listing the company know this. And so each year we get more and more data about what's easy to onboard and get to scale, what's hard. All right. Secondly, we are working on the back end. We're always trying to make the back end actually do this more quickly, right? And we have a substantial amount of bookings, right? Like, this is the thing that frustrates me, right? Like, we actually have a lot of bookings, and the rate at which we're able to push them through the infrastructure into revenue is just too low, right? And so I do need to, we need to work on that back end problem. I think when it comes to, do we know like success cases, it is the types of programs that we have done previously, right? Like if we have done that type of work, particularly if we've done that type of work end to end and succeeded for a customer, it is much easier for us to do it again. When it's a newer thing, that creates a lot more churn. All right. And then I would say across the board, there's still like a set of experiments, like, for example, assay onboarding, right? Like, customer comes to us, they have their specific project, and as part of it, there's a particular assay that they trust, that they really want us to onboard onto the automation in order to make that project work. That remains something that, like, you can't hand off to automation. Like, we have to do that pretty manually. It's pretty low throughput. It ends up being a bottleneck. And until you complete that, I can't turn up the dial and generate all that revenue from running that assay thousands and thousands of times. Does that make sense? And so like, assay onboarding would be a great thing for us to be able to do with the racks, right? Like, being able to onboard quickly some of these things that are currently repeatedly frictional by hand work to get the automation spun up. We know what those things are because we're doing so many programs. And those are some of the first things we're going to attack with our new focus. So that really is it. And that's why we're confident that we aren't going to have the situation you're talking about. But again, what we sell will be different. Like, I won't be going out and saying, hey, I want to do a project for the first time. Not in this world, right? Not where I see a line of sight to us getting to break even. We just don't need to do that anymore. And that we've had to do it. I think it was part of building the process here, part of building the story, and helping us learn what's easy and hard over the last few years. But it's a mistake to keep selling that type of stuff. And so you'll see us tighten up the sales there. But I'm hopeful with the better terms, we get more deals of the type we like. Does that make sense?
Okay. No, that does. I appreciate that.
We do also, I will say, like, post-listing, we pursued many different ways to potentially get to growth. We do a lot of internal research to try to get something that's going to pay off in a longer term. Some of that we did need to do 2 or 3 years ago. Like, we were very early, 4 years ago, and even doing mammalian cells. Of course, we needed to do internal research to bring that online. We would never be able to tap the pharma industry today like we do. The list of things like that versus the payoff in this environment is just shorter. And so a lot of that internal research is just work we shouldn't be doing, and we should be focusing that on either delivering on customer projects or making it easier to onboard things onto the automation, onto the pooled screening and things like that. Like, you'll just see us focus a little more on just the stuff that delivers revenue and allows us to sell to the types of customers we want to sell to at a faster scale. Does that make sense?
Yeah.